I've also exited that phase of my life where I felt like it had to be a special occasion for me to dress up. Because no, baby, life is the occasion. Hey girl, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Trinity, and today we're going to be talking about 10 things that you can do to improve your happiness. If you're not new to my channel, you know I love to give very practical and simple tips, so these are things that you can literally start doing today, right now. It's nothing super duper crazy, nothing outlandish, nothing really groundbreaking, honestly, but I think sometimes we need to be reminded of little things we can do to make ourselves feel better on a daily basis. Because it doesn't take a whole lot of money, it doesn't take a whole lot of effort. Sometimes you really just have to focus on the small things. We really have to get grounded these days and really remember that there is beauty in simple things. We have to remember that happiness doesn't just look like having a whole bunch of money, driving a really nice car, having a really nice house. There's luxury and happiness in everyday things, everyday tasks. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get right into the list. The first thing you can do to increase your happiness is daily gratitude journaling. It is so easy and so common for us to focus on what we don't have, what we want, what we're striving for, the next best thing. And that often makes it hard for us to be grateful for what we already have. Sometimes you need a little reminder that you are living in your prayers from last month, last year, the year before last. And even if the things you have right now are not things that you once prayed for, it's important to not take those things for granted. And it's important to remember that a lot of those things that you do have are luxuries. Like life is a luxury, health is a luxury, your job is a luxury, your home, no matter how small it may be, or maybe it's not your ideal home, maybe it's not like your idea of the perfect home, it's still a luxury. Your car, even if it's not a luxury car, it's a luxury. There are so many things we don't really appreciate until they're taken away. Like, for example, a lot of us complain about going to work every day, but if you were to be laid off tomorrow, you would want that job back. A lot of us take our health for granted until we're in the hospital randomly for something that we never thought would happen to us. And one thing I noticed is that daily gratitude journaling helps me to really be grateful for all those things that I really take for granted most of the time. Because when you're doing it on a daily basis, you don't want to keep repeating the same thing. So it forces you to come up with more things that you really take for granted. You really don't realize how much you actually have until you sit down and force yourself to think about it. Another way to increase your happiness is to make a higher self list. This is something that I just recently did yesterday, actually. I don't even know where I got the idea from, but a higher self list is pretty much a list of things that your higher self would do on a regular basis. And not only do you want to make the list, you want to start doing those things. You don't have to do them all the time. You don't have to do them regularly like your higher self would, but put yourself in a position to feel like your higher self. That will make you feel closer to that person, and it'll make you feel closer to having that life that you want to have. So if your higher self, your dream self, goes to fancy restaurants for dinner, take yourself out to a fancy restaurant for dinner one night. If your higher self travels and stays in really nice luxury hotels, book a really nice luxury hotel for a night. It can be in your city, it can be in another city that may be like driving distance, that way you don't have to pay for a flight, but put yourself in that position so that you know what it feels like. Whatever your dream car is, book an appointment at the dealership to go test drive that luxury car. My higher self does not do all her own cleaning and all her own laundry. So one thing on my list is to book a cleaning service, even if it's just one time. It can be a one-time thing because I really just need the experience, and maybe me having that experience will cause me to find more ways to generate more money so that I can afford to do it regularly. Another way to increase your happiness is to dress better. If you're not new to my channel, you know I talk about this all the time, but it works. I'm telling you. This is one thing that has really increased my confidence, and it really just makes me feel so much better about myself because I know that I'm putting effort into how I look before I walk out the door. I don't know who needs to hear this, but stop walking out the door looking a mess just because you're not going anywhere or just because you're not going to see anyone. Put a little bit of effort into your look. You don't have to put on a full face of makeup and a dress with heels every single day. Nobody's saying that, but put effort into how you look. Effort might just be throwing on a two-piece set. Some days effort might look like putting on a little dress. You know, if it's like summertime or whatever, you want to put on a cute little sundress or a little bodycon dress, you can do that. Effort looks different every day. I think that's one thing people need to keep in mind, because a lot of people, when they hear, oh, you should be getting dressed every day, they think that means really getting dressed, like dressed up all the time, and it doesn't necessarily mean that. I pretty much get dressed every single day, and on some of those days I wear sweatpants. But the difference is I'm not just throwing on sweatpants that are wrinkled and dingy, just pulling out the first pair of sweatpants I can find out my drawer and then throwing on any top to go with it just because I'm not going anywhere. No, I still put effort into the look. I know how to make sweatpants look cute. I know how to make it look a little elevated, a little put together. And sometimes it's not even really the outfit, it's everything else. Like, make sure your hair is looking good. Make sure your face is nice and clean and moisturized. Like, do your skincare routine that morning. Put on a little bit of makeup. And one thing about me, the hair is always gonna be done. Like, I don't really like super duper sleek hairstyles that look like I just walked out of the salon. You're not gonna catch me walking outside with a bonnet on. I might have a scarf on, I'm not gonna lie, but that's typically only if I'm like going to the gym or something like that, if I don't have braids or something. But yeah, for the most part, the hair is gonna be done. And I'm not getting dressed and making sure I look presentable for other people. It has nothing to do with other people. It's all about me. It makes me feel good knowing that this is who I am. Like, me getting dressed every day is literally a personality trait at this point. Like, you know that saying, when you look good, you feel good, and when you feel good, you do good. It's all true. Again, you could be wearing sweatpants and still put effort into your look. But I think the key is getting dressed for confidence and not necessarily out of laziness. Because there are a lot of people who get dressed and will pick up the first pair of sweatpants they can find, a random hoodie that might not even match, or a random t-shirt that might not even match that's super duper wrinkled, and just throw on the first pair of shoes that are at their door just out of laziness. And they'll try to say, oh, I just want to be comfortable. You can be comfortable and still cute. I've also exited that phase of my life where I felt like it had to be a special occasion for me to dress up. Because no, baby, life is the occasion. Gone are the days where I told myself I would be doing too much if I put on makeup, or if I put on a heel, or if I put on an actual outfit to go do something regular. No, if that's what I feel like doing, that's what I'm gonna do. I literally get dressed for my mood. Another thing you can do to increase your happiness is get organized. And we're not just talking about like in your home, like clutter and stuff like that. We're talking about a bunch of different things. We're gonna start with the clutter though. You definitely wanna make sure you are decluttering your space often, because when you declutter your space, your mind follows. A lot of the time our brains are cluttered because our space is cluttered. You literally can't think straight when you have stuff everywhere, when you don't really have a space that allows you to think straight. So get rid of things that are just taking up space. One thing about me, I'm gonna get rid of something real quick. I am not a hoarder at all. Like, whatever the complete opposite of a hoarder is, that's me. I do not like to hold on to stuff that I don't use, stuff that I don't wear. Low key, I like for my home to have no proof of life, but because I have a child, I really don't have an option but to have stuff. I just like to try to keep it as organized as possible. Now, another way to get organized is to organize your finances. One thing I notice about myself is that I get very stressed when I'm not organized financially. Like, when I'm just spending money and I'm not really paying attention to my budget or my spending plan, or checking my accounts often, looking at my bank statements, planning ahead. So it's really important for me to always have my bills written out for the month on my bills calendar. It's important for me to plan where my money is going every month. So I definitely recommend that. And then the last way to stay organized is to keep a calendar, whether it's the calendar on your phone or a physical one. I actually use both. I have 3 calendars that I use. I use the calendar on my phone. I have a calendar on my fridge just for like things that I might forget. So like if there are days where Jax may be out of school, I have it written on there. If I have appointments, I have it written on there. Just things that I really need to see every single day. And then I have my calendar for my bills that I've told you about several times, where I basically just write out what bill is coming out on what day. This will put your mind at ease, because a lot of us overwhelm ourselves by forcing ourselves to just remember every single thing that we have to do. Appointments, meetings, birthdays, holidays. You shouldn't just keep all that stuff stored in your brain and hope that you'll remember it all. Write it down. Organization decreases stress, which will increase your happiness. More self-care. Y'all know I'm the self-care queen. One thing about me, I'm gonna encourage you to buy all the self-care products, do all the self-care things, buy all the body care products, buy all the perfume. I'm gonna encourage you to do it because it makes you feel so good. Like, literally, self-care is probably one of the easiest ways to increase your happiness. There's something about putting effort into pouring into yourself that makes you feel better about yourself and life, period. Especially as women, because we do a whole lot. We take care of so many other people. If you have kids, then you know how that goes. If you're in a relationship, of course, you gotta pour into your man. And we often neglect ourselves in relationships and when we're moms. It seems to be so easy for us to prioritize others and so hard for us to prioritize ourselves. So you really got to start giving yourself all the things that you give other people, all the time, all the affection, all the attention. Start doing more for yourself. And your self-care does not have to look like everyone else's. I know a lot of people like to say that self-care is the bubble baths and the skincare routine and the shower routine and getting massages. It doesn't have to look like that. Sometimes self-care is setting boundaries. Sometimes self-care is literally sitting at home and doing nothing, just spending time with yourself, watching TV. Because honestly, for me, self-care is all those things. Any way I can prioritize myself, that is self-care. Any way I can take care of myself, that is self-care. Another way to increase your happiness is to make daily to-do lists, and more specifically, a big 3 to-do list. So I like to give myself 3 tasks to complete every day. I don't like to overwhelm myself with 10 different things to do on a daily basis, because then I get overwhelmed to the point where I do absolutely nothing. So I try to prioritize 3 things. And I noticed that it helps for me to check off the tasks as I complete them, because it gives me a sense of accomplishment, which in turn increases my happiness. That was pretty short, simple, self-explanatory. So we're gonna move on to the next one. Another way to increase your happiness is to work on your body. If y'all are not new to my channel, you already know I talk about this all the time, because it actually does help, not only with increasing your happiness, but just building up your self-worth, your self-esteem, your confidence. You need to be getting active, whether you go to the gym, do yoga, do Pilates, take walks, hot girl walks as they call it. I don't even know why it's called that. Why is it called a hot girl walk? But anyway, I know everyone's in their running girl era now, so that's another thing. Ride a bike, do something, just get active. I know in the summertime there were a lot of girls who were taking like tennis lessons and stuff like that. Those are all examples of getting active, but I really want to specifically talk about working on your body, because there are a lot of people who like take the tennis lessons and do the yoga, but they're not necessarily trying to improve their body, like the way their body looks. If you want to lose weight, start doing whatever you need to do to lose the weight. If you want to gain weight, start doing whatever you need to do to gain the weight. Again, everyone is active for different reasons. Everyone works out for different reasons. Do what works for you. But I specifically wanted to talk about working on your body, because I know a lot of people aren't really happy in life because they aren't happy with how they look. They aren't happy with their body, their weight. So do whatever it is that you need to do to improve that situation. Sitting at home complaining about it is not gonna do anything. All right, sorry y'all, the battery died. I had to switch it out. So the angle might be a little different, but whatever. My next tip is to create a sinking fund for things that you would like to experience but don't necessarily feel like you can afford. There are a lot of people who don't go on vacations because they feel like they can't afford it. A lot of people don't book things like massages and facials because they're like, oh, I don't really have the money to spend $150 on a massage or a facial. There are a lot of people who never buy designer items or luxury items. It doesn't necessarily have to be designer, but they feel like they just can't afford it. And I'm here to tell you that you can have a savings specifically for that kind of stuff. You can create an account specifically for vacations or for your self-care, cosmetic procedures that you would like to get. Anything you would like to experience that you feel like you don't really have the money for. Whenever you look in your bank account or whenever you get paid, start putting money aside for those things so that you can actually experience them. A lot of these people are not just randomly waking up one day and saying, oh, I want to go buy a Chanel bag. The everyday person really, like on average, is not waking up and randomly making a decision to buy something like that. There are a good amount of people who are putting money aside to experience these things, and you can do the same thing. Open up another account with your bank, a savings account that is specifically for these things that you want to experience. And we call it a sinking fund because you basically time out like when you would like to buy that thing or do that thing and figure out how much money you need to be putting in and how often between now and that point so that you can do whatever it is that you're trying to do. So that's just a little tip. Number 9, Lord, we almost done. I feel like I done did about 20 of these. Get a hobby. Again, I feel like this kind of ties in with self-care because hobbies are things that you just do for yourself. It doesn't have anything to do with anyone else, and that's something that a lot of people are missing. Like I said, a lot of us are so busy pouring into everyone else that we don't ever take time to do things that are just for us. Hobbies are the perfect way to do that. When we were kids, our parents put us in extracurricular activities so that we could stay busy, so that we could stay active, so that we could be a little bit more creative, so that we can figure out what we liked and disliked. And for some reason, we let go of that as we got older and became adults. I don't know why as adults we feel like we don't have to do things just for fun, just for pleasure. As adults, we make everything so deep. Like, what is the meaning behind that though? Like, why am I doing that? You don't really have to have a reason. Just do it because you like to do it. That's what hobbies are for. Hobbies are literally just for pleasure. And there are different types of hobbies. There are hobbies that teach you things. There are hobbies that help you to explore your creative side. There are hobbies that cater to your imagination. There are hobbies that make you money. There are hobbies that just make you feel calm and at peace. There are so many different things you can do, so many different things to choose from, but I do believe that hobbies are important for us as adults. And I also believe that people who have hobbies and people who have lives outside of their relationships and outside of being a mom or a dad, if you're a guy watching this, those people are easier to interact with. Those people typically have healthier relationships because they're not so codependent. And last but not least, finally, number 10, spend less time on your phone. We're not even just talking about social media, like less time on your phone in general. So many of us really need to touch grass. Like, we are so out of touch with reality because we're always on our phone. And again, I'm not just talking about scrolling through Instagram, scrolling through TikTok, being on YouTube. No, I'm talking about just being stimulated by your phone, looking at a screen all day long. Sometimes you really just need to put your phone down and just take in the moment. Take in the things around you. Pay attention to your surroundings. Get outside in nature. Talk to your boyfriend or girlfriend, your husband. Talk to your kids. Spend time with the people you love and really make a conscious effort to not be on your phone. I think we'll be so much happier when we actually start living in reality again. And I also think it's important to spend less time on your phone because when you're on these social media apps all the time, you are subconsciously going to end up comparing your life to everyone else's lives. You don't need to know every single detail of everyone's life. And you don't need to be keeping up with so many people all the time. I think it's okay to do like a healthy amount of scrolling every day, but when you're just going down a rabbit hole and you know every detail of all these people's lives that you follow, I think that's when it becomes a problem. Stop being a watcher and start being a doer. The people who are really doing things in life are not on social media all day looking to see what everyone else is doing. They're actually doing the things. And when you're really doing the things, you don't have time to be worried about what everyone else is doing. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.